Alright, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Not sure what time of day it is when you are watching this, but it's morning when I'm recording it. We are going to be talking about addition and subtraction of rational numbers. Okay. Before we've done integers, which is just those positives and negatives. Now we're going to tie it all in and show you that the same rules apply when we talk about decimals and fractions. Alright, so we are starting on page 41, okay, up at the very top, and says exercise 3. Find the following difference. Difference, ooh, that's a good word. That means that we are going to be doing subtraction. Okay? When you see that word difference, that lets you know that we are subtracting. Okay? It wants us to represent it on a number line, so we will go ahead and do that. My number line might look a little bit different than yours because I added some halfway marks to mine. I'll explain why in a minute. Okay. So we have -5.5 minus a -8. Now if you remember, what we talked about last week is that if you have a subtraction problem, it's really adding the opposite. When you are subtracting, you're adding the opposite of whatever is after that subtraction sign. So I'm going to change this. I'm going to make it -5.5 plus the opposite of a -8 is a +8. So my new addition problem is -5.5 plus a +8. And we've done things like this before. And so I'm going to draw my first arrow. So it's -5.5, so I start at 0. I'm going to go to the left 5.5 spaces. That's why I have my little dash marks in between. So I know roughly where my halfway points are. And so here's my arrow, 5.5 spaces to the left. Notice it ends between the -5 and the -6. Then I'm going to go from there to 8. 8 spaces to the right. Not to 8, but 8 spaces to the right. Now keep in mind though, that I'm at a halfway point. So when I count distance, I need to count it to the next halfway point. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So when I draw my line, I want to make sure that I know where I'm going. And then I'm counting super careful. Yeah, just like before, we're going to circle our final answer. It's down here somewhere. I promise. Maybe. It's hiding from me. Alright, I'll circle it a different way. We are going to circle our final answer. We are at 2.5. And because it's in the middle, I'm going to write it out as well. And so when we have -5.5 and we add 8 to it, we get to a +2.5. And we're going to run through a couple more of these without a number line. Okay. So right underneath that, you'll see exercise 4, still on page 41. So let's find the following sums and differences using a number line model. I am not going to use that number line model, so we're just going to cross that out. I want you to know that we can do this without it. Okay, this one we already are adding, so we're in good shape. And now remember, we're adding. There's a negative and a positive, which means I'm really going to be subtracting, right? So adding with different signs means that we are really subtracting those absolute values. Okay. And the -6 is farther away than the 5 1/4, so my answer is going to be negative. So I'm going to set up that negative sign already so I don't forget. And then I just need to focus in on the numbers. So I have 6 minus 5 1/4. Okay, well, if I have 6 pizzas and somebody eats 5 of them and a quarter of the last one, there's only 3/4 of a pizza left over. So this is just going to be negative 3/4. And that's it. And now for letter B, we're subtracting. And remember, when you subtract, you are really adding the opposite, right? So I'm going to change my minus sign to a plus sign, my negative 9/10 to a positive 9/10, and now I just have 7 plus 9/10. Well, that is simply 7 and 9/10, and that's it. And going on to the next one, 2 and 5/10 plus negative 1/2. All right, we have a couple things going on here. First of all, we're adding with different signs, which means we really need to subtract, right? Those absolute values. Okay. Well, the 2.5 is farther away from 0 than the 1/2, so it's going to be a positive answer. So I'm good. And then the other thing is that I have a decimal and a fraction. I need to pick one. It doesn't matter which one you pick. I prefer fractions, so I'm going to change it to fractions. So I'm going to just rewrite this as a fraction, 2.5, and I'm then going to subtract 1/2. Well, if I have 2.5 and I take away 1/2, I just have 2 left over. So 2 is my final answer. And again, it was positive, so I'm good. And for letter D, again, I am adding with different signs. So that really means I need to subtract the absolute values, right? Well, the 4 is farther away from 0 than the 1/4. It has a bigger absolute value, so it's going to be a positive answer. So my problem that I'm really going to do is 4 minus 1/4. Well, again, I think in terms of food when I think fractions. If I have 4 pizzas and someone only eats 1/4 of them, then I have 3 3/4 pizzas left over, right? And I have a lot of leftovers for this week, that's for sure. And again, the 4 was positive because it was farther away, so that is my answer. We're just going to stick positive. Right. For letter E, forgot to get rid of the number line for you. I am subtracting, which means that I'm really adding the opposite. Right. So I'm going to take my minus sign and make it positive, my negative 3, make it positive, so I just have 1/2 plus 3. Well, 1/2 plus 3 is simply 3.5. Okay. We're going to do one more problem together, and that is on the next, or actually the same page you're on. We've already gone to page 42. Okay. Again, I'm not going to use a number line, but I do want to talk about an equation and then solve it. Okay. Samantha owes her father $7. She just got paid $5.50 for babysitting. If she gives that money to her dad, how much does she still owe him? When we're talking money, owing money is negative. So she owes her dad -7. Okay. She gets paid. That's positive money coming in. So she got paid $5.50. We want to know how much she still owes her dad. So I will help you set up this equation. You are going to solve it, and then there's other problems on that page, letter B and letter C, that you're going to do as well. Okay, so this is how we would set it up. We're adding with different signs, so really you're subtracting those absolute values. Your answer should still be negative though, because 7 is farther away from 0 than 5.5. Okay, so go ahead and work on that. And there's a question on the Google form.